Good morning, kind people of the internet. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about 4 of my favorite modern tenor saxophone players. So these are all people that I have listened to a lot, and I've been lucky enough to hear them each play live a few different times. And although I don't necessarily want to sound like somebody else when I'm playing, I do want to try to take elements of players that I really like and try to use that in my own development. So I think what that does is, one, it opens up my ears of new approaches and new concepts and different ways of approaching improvisation, new tonal concepts with just playing the saxophone, but also just making that search, I think can help discover my true inner voice and help me to play the things that I really love to play, versus just being a copycat and playing what other people have played. By taking elements from other players, it really helps me find my own way and discover the things that I truly like. So I'm going to share a few short video clips of each of these players, and each of these videos are just ones that I found on YouTube. But if you like these players, I would definitely recommend either trying to hear them live, ideally in a relatively small setting, because that's the best way to really hear a saxophone player's sound. But otherwise, just check out their studio recordings, because that's another great way to hear their sound, is in a really well recorded environment. So the first player on the list is probably the least known of the 4 that I'll share today, and his name is Noah Preminger. So I had the pleasure of meeting him and playing one gig with Noah back when I was in New York a while ago, and it was actually a big band gig, and I was playing lead alto and he was playing tenor. He was sitting right next to me, and he was at the time actually improvising parts above my lead alto line, so way up in the altissimo of the tenor. And I just remember being blown away at the time just by his technique and his ears and just his ability to play. So the things that I really like about Noah's playing are, first, he just seems super free to me when he is playing. He doesn't really seem like he's confined by chord changes or licks or form or things like that. Even when he's playing standards, he has a very free approach. He's also super expressive with the instrument, which is great. And then he also, I guess, sort of has this feeling where he's searching for something. It feels like he's trying to maybe break new ground or just find the true core of what he's going for in every moment, rather than relying on maybe things that he's done before. So here is Noah Preminger. next on the list is Ravi Coltrane, and I think Ravi has a very unique style. I feel like he's very original in that sense, and I think his phrasing is very interesting. Just in like the lengths of his lines, when he starts and stops lines, I think is really cool. And I think it has partly to do with his angular sense of playing. So on saxophone, it's really easy to run up and down scales really fast, like if you're putting one note right next to the next one. But when you're playing in an angular way, like I think Ravi does, you're leaping around in different directions with different intervals, wider leaps or smaller leaps, and not easily predicted patterns and lines. So but the thing about Ravi is that a lot of it feels worked out, but to me it just sounds so fresh and almost like he's making all of it up right on the spot. But I know somebody like him, and I read in one interview he said 3 hours of practice a day is a good day for him. So if you're practicing that much, you are able to work a lot of things out. So it's maybe hard to say without getting to hear him play live a lot more how much of that he is putting together on the spot or how much of it feels worked out. But to me, it sounds like all fresh, like he's able to do it all on the spot. So here is a clip of Ravi actually playing his father's tune. This is Giant Steps by John Coltrane with Ravi Coltrane on saxophone. Next on the list is Rich Perry, and I first discovered Rich as part of the Maria Schneider Orchestra, and he's played some amazing solos on a lot of Maria's music, which you can find on her albums. But I think Rich has a really amazing way of approaching melody and harmony, and I think when he's soloing, a lot of times he'll resolve on chords that when you're looking at the theory behind it, it's really dissonant, but the way he does it, it doesn't sound like he's trying to clash with the harmony, but rather develop the harmony and find maybe new and interesting ways to work his way through the changes. Sometimes when I'm listening to his lines, it really puts me on the edge of my seat because I don't know where he's going and I don't know when he's going to stop or keep going or resolve. It just sort of develops and I just want to keep listening to it just to see what's going to happen. So I really like his style of playing. So here's Rich Perry. Last on the list is Mark Turner, and I think the first thing that strikes me about Mark's playing is just the sound that he's able to produce on the instrument. In my opinion, it's one of the best tenor saxophone sounds that you can hear today. I think the core of his sound is just super strong, and of course his control of the instrument is really amazing. He's able to get just so much clarity and just a sort of a singing quality, but without losing the power of a great saxophone sound. His altissimo is great. His range, his ability to play in a very smooth and singing way, I think is really great. His time feel is super rock solid, and when he's improvising it always feels very grounded to me. Not necessarily like he's just swinging to hit a home run and maybe missing or hitting a foul ball, but just always like connecting in a way really solidly with the music. And to me, it really speaks to me, and also just that notion of being true to what you're hearing, and not necessarily going for a flashy, overly expressive way of playing, but just staying really grounded and being true to your own style and what you hear. So here's Mark Turner.